Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 68 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. My name is Kenny, and I go by KCCO Gamer. And all the way from Thunder Bluff, Louisiana, we have Cinder. Cinder, how are you?
I'm great. I got my Mystery Science Theater 3000 Revival League rewards in the mail, and I'm so happy.
Woohoo!
I'm psyched. I even got my T-shirt. Look, here it is. It's still in the bag. I didn't want to take it out. See? Woo! So happy.
Nice. So many memories of that show. I can't
It's coming back. It'll be on in like a couple weeks.
Yeah, I'm just talking about like my brother and I just messing around and just laughing about the show. So
we're aging ourselves, Kenny.
Yeah, I know. All right, so also from Orgrimmar, Illinois, we have Cora. Cora, what's new?
Not too much. Just been doing the same old since the beginning of the year. Streaming a lot, playing a lot of Hearthstone and Overwatch. Yeah, it's been good so far.
All right. And also from Undercity, Georgia, we have Appa. You're back in Undercity, right, Appa?
Yeah, back in Georgia. Because I just started school again. So,
Ooh.
Yay, school.
Yeah, for once in my life, I don't have school. It's really weird to be in that boat. So I don't envy you.
To be the one that's not in school?
Yeah.
But have someone be in school? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
nice.
It's weird.
All right, so yeah, we got a lot of stuff to do. We're gonna have a call-in section at the end of the show. We have lots of news to cover over the last couple weeks, tournament results. We have several stuff to talk about. Why don't we get started on how our week has been? Since we just spoke with you, Yabo, you want to mention how your week went, what you've been up to?
Yeah. Like I said on the last podcast, I'm trying to hit Legend on all 3 servers. So school and getting Overwatch as a late Christmas present have been kind of getting in the way of that. So I need to find some more time to jam in some ladder sessions. But I hit rank 10 on Asia, and I hit rank 6 on EU, and I've just been messing around on NA, so I've just been staying at like rank 16 because I've been playing just crazy decks just for fun. So yeah, that's basically been my week, just Overwatch, school, and Hearthstone.
That's probably the smart way to do it. I don't know what your cards are like in the other regions, but if you don't have as many cards, you probably want to try harder on those and then just kind of relax.
I only have 1 deck on Asia, I have 2 decks on EU, and then I have pretty much everything on NA, so
yeah,
I'm
so
kind of
really
saving
worried.
that one for last. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's smart. All right, and Cora, what about you?
I am up to rank 5 on NA. It's the only server that I have cards on, so it's the only one I ever really ladder on. But I've been playing exclusively Rogue this season. Rogue is by far my worst class. It's the only class I don't have Golden. So I'm like 31 wins away now from Golden Rogue. So I'm trying to finally get down and dirty and just learn the class, learn Miracle Rogue specifically. And then I actually found out that there is a Tavern Hero qualifier about 40 minutes from me next Saturday. So not this Saturday, but like the 21st. And I think I might actually go and compete. So I might have to try and get a lineup ready by then. But I'm excited.
Do the thing. Yes.
Yeah. So
You're gonna go all control, like.
I mean, there might be little patches here and there. We'll see.
A little bit.
We'll see. He's
a little bit.
He's in charge after all. You don't want to scorn him.
The
the lineup.
Charge.
The lineup logic is 3 patches, 1
Reno.
Kazakus, right?
Yeah.
And 1 Reno. Yeah.
He's in charge of the format.
Exactly.
All right, and how about you, Cinder? What have you been up to? I did see something on Twitter. I don't know if you want to cover that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna mention anything what I did. No, so last week I said I'm gonna set my sights on Golden Shaman. Bam, did it. 500 wins yesterday, and I noticed when I looked that I had also crossed the 5,000 ranked win mark. So like that was a good day yesterday.
Nice.
And then I followed that up by switching over to Reno Mage and getting all the way up to rank 6. So I'm on a legend push this month. because I'm getting high up there pretty quick.
Yeah, it's still really early in the season.
Yeah.
I only have one question for you.
Uh-huh.
Was it with Crusher Shaman?
I did play a few games of Crusher Shaman, but the bulk of them were definitely Aggro Shaman.
I'm mildly disappointed, but I can't blame you.
Well, look, it's like I played 3 games of Crusher Shaman in 80 minutes.
Jeez.
And then I looked at my game history, and I had played like 12 games in the same span with Aggro Shaman. I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna do this with Aggro Shaman real quick.
That's kind of my thought.
Efficiency.
I try to be as efficient
matters.
with my time as possible. Yeah. So I most recently I have not been playing Hearthstone. I had picked up last night. I was like, oh my gosh, the new season's out for Diablo. So let me throw that out. I was talking a little bit about making my name for it and stuff in our Discord, but got my monk up to 70 and already have the full Sunworker set. And yeah, we're raring to go, already on Torment 4 and everything. But so just within 24 hours, I'm ready to go with that. I could go back to Hearthstone and not worry about leveling that as much. But I did get over the last 2 weeks. So I wasn't here last week, obviously. The show went perfect without me. So
It was
there's
flawless.
no point in me having. Yeah. So
Would not have changed a thing or a color.
yeah, so my family got super sick. So since the holiday, I ended at rank 5. Got my Golden Flamant, Earthshock, and Manic Soulcaster. So super jealous of Cinder's Golden Doomhammer. So
Ooh, that's nice.
that was
Yeah.
I was wanting to switch. If we could trade cards, I would. And then
I believe I got Farsight.
Pretty much within a couple days, I got to rank 12. I think I was on rank 12 on the 3rd day. And then I kind of topped off at 9 and then went back down to 13. And then just recently I went back up to rank 9. I haven't played in the last maybe 24, 48 hours. So I could probably catch up to you guys if I got to playing tonight. I don't know if I'll play tonight, but pretty tired. But yeah, that's been my weeks, I should say. And super fun. Anything else you guys want to mention? Any ladder stories? I know we have an email that talks about a story.
Okay, there was one thing. So I was playing Rogue against Priest. It was turn 6. I had Swashbucklered Forbidden Shaping, and he was at 7 health, and I had a dagger up. And I was like, all right, Forbidden Shaping for 8 mana is pretty much the best you can do with Forbidden Shaping. Yep. It's the best value. So I had coin and counterfeit coin in my hand. I double coined, played Forbidden Shaping, and I got Alakir the Windlord, and then I hit him for 7.
Nice.
That was the best thing that's happened to me all week. That was good. That was a good time.
I actually had something interesting happen earlier today. I hopped on NA just for some fun games. I actually made Reno Mage, and I played the single hardest game of Hearthstone I've ever played in my life. And I played against Firebat, I played against Muzzy, Tides of Times, Noblord, just you name a high-level pro, I probably played against them. And this random rank 16 dude gave me the hardest game I've ever played. It was Reno Mage versus, I thought it was Anyfin Paladin at first, but it was Anyfin N'Zoth Paladin. And it went like 35 minutes or something, and it was just, my brain hurt after I had to get off. But
did you win?
Yeah, I won. I won by 1 point in fatigue.
God.
Oh.
It was awesome. But,
I don't have a specific story, but I will say that today I've only played a handful of games today with Reno Mage, but I have not lost. The deck just feels super good.
It's real good.
Yeah.
And if anybody's listening who hasn't listened to our last episode wants to play Reno Mage, go check that one out.
Yeah, I've actually people have been like, how do you play Reno Mage? I'm like, funny you should ask that. Well, you know what? I will tell you one thing that I managed to do today. It was against a Reno Warlock, and I played Brand Kazakis, and then they played Brand Kazakis, and then played a Doomsayer, and he left my Bran on board, and I was holding Dirty Rat. I'm like, oh, you should not have done that.
No. What did you get?
I Dirty Ratted his Dirty Rat and Thorison, and they all got dunked.
Gross.
That's dirty.
No, it wasn't Thorson. It was Jiraxis. That's right.
Oh, that's
Oh,
even
that's
worse.
even better.
There goes your win condition. Sorry.
My story this week, I actually ran into a person playing, I think it was Aggro Shaman? I'd have to double check. But it's actually Fuchs. And he he added me soon after. He's like, is this KCCO as in Coin Concede? And I was like, yeah. Because I was thinking, oh, he beat me. He's going to, probably talk some trash and see would kind of get a rise out of me, but no, he was super cool. He joined our Discord, started chatting with everybody. Been super cool to have him and meet him on ladder and put me in my place.
Actually,
Well done, sir.
I was playing my rogue, so he completely got me on there.
I had one really awesome. So I beat this one guy, got pretty lucky. He added me. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to add him. We're going to see what happens. And he flamed me, of course. And then he deleted me. But then he added me again. So I added him again. I'm like, okay, so are we friends now? And he just started flaming me again. I'm like, wow. You added me, deleted me, added me again. And still went at it. And I was streaming at the time. I'm like, look, stream. Don't do this. Don't do this. Because somebody might be just humiliating you in front of 50 people right now. And you wouldn't even know. You wouldn't even know. V3NOM. Venom with a 3. I'll remember that name forever.
Wait, do you store your past broadcasts on Twitch?
Yeah, they're all recorded.
Awesome.
Well, that's in the record books. Good job, buddy.
Oh man,
That was a
that
fun
dude
one.
probably got like super mad, deleted you, walked away to like go make toast or something, came back and was like halfway to the kitchen and was like, you know what? I'm still mad.
And the best thing was, he was like, so I was playing Miracle Rogue, right? And he was playing Aggro Shaman. And he was like, you're playing your no-skill Lucker Miracle Rogue. And I'm like,
That's not even. That
What?
doesn't.
No skill.
did
rogue.
you know
That's
that
a new
Miracle
one.
Rogue is less skillful than Aggro Shaman?
2 + 2 =
5.
5.
According to Venom with a 3, that's how the world works. It was amazing. My eyes were
What
open.
even?
It was wonderful. That was
And the more you know,
flame of the
Rainbow
week.
goes over my head. And I learned
The
something
more
today.
you know. Alrighty, so let's get in. We got a lot to cover on our show here. Real quick here, thank you for those of you who support us at patreon.com/coinconcede. We love that you're supporting us, and thank you so much. We can't thank you enough. And we're pretty much supported by all of our listeners too. You guys give feedback and interact and possibly call into our show. So thank you so much. Let's go straight into the news. All right, and first thing I was going to mention, since the last episode came out on last Wednesdays, or that's when we recorded, and we didn't really talk about the Tavern Brawl because it just came out. So did you guys have a chance to talk or to play the Unravel the Secrets of the Dark Wanderer? I played it, but I didn't get to become the cow.
Yes, I did, and I did become the cow on my first try. I had no idea what was going on. I actually lost the first try, but I beat him the second time before I triggered the cow.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fun. I
think
like the card
it took
back.
me 6 tries to get. I think I got the second try. I got to the second phase, and then I was trying out different decks, and then I finally got it with. I played a Reno Lock. Reno Lock got me to actually beat him, and pretty handily. So it was a good deck.
Yeah, I heard the Reno decks in general did really good against the Wanderer.
I think
What
I did
about
it
you,
with
Alpha?
Sacred Paladin.
I only played it once. I figured it would be like a board-centric thing because it's like an AI. And that's like all it can really handle. So I just like put Equalities and Wild Pyros and Consecrates in my deck. So I just made a Zoth Paladin. And I only got one secret. I think that was if you played a Death Rattle minion or something. I don't even remember what it did. I just got the card back and moved on.
Yeah, I think it was if you
All right.
play a Death Rattle, destroy it. If you play a Battle Cry, summon a mirror image token for each player.
There was like
There was a good
10 or
amount of
12
them.
secrets,
Mhm.
Yeah,
and they
there
were
were
just
quite a bit.
random each game.
Yeah, I just popped one secret and I was like, I don't know what's going on. Play another Infested Torrent, go.
Yeah, I got pretty lucky my first time. I had the Battle Cry, Death Rattle, and then the Brawl when both players are below 15. Those are my 3 secrets. It was pretty easy to trigger.
Cool. So it was fun. I liked playing. I played it more than I usually play the Tavern Brawl, but yeah, I can understand just getting the card back and moving on to. So next thing on the news here, Ben Brode actually had several blue posts over the last week and a half. Let me cover some of them, and I'll have you guys talk a little bit more about them. So the first one here, you talked about classic formats, free to play, legend, and community questions. He also had a blue post which was about possible classic cards that would be moving to wild. So almost the fact that
Poppers.
what happened with some of the cards like last time, and how they moved to wild and weren't offered as part of the card set anymore. And then the last one, I put a link in here. I'll be linking in the Twitch chat here pretty soon. Is new player experience. How he said they pretty much need some work. So anything come out to you, Cinder, when you take a look at some of these blue posts? Putting you on the spot.
I was actually kind of surprised that he said the new player experience needs work, because I had, when the Morgul thing came around, I made a Smurf account to give myself the Morgul hero since everybody else did it, and I was the one sucker trying to be honest about it. Anyway, I was really surprised that the new player experience, like the whole tutorial thing, because I didn't go through that because I played in beta. I just kind of threw you into the game and that was it. There was like one tutorial against the innkeeper. So like I thought it was really cool. Now I understand like if you're jumping into ladder, it's a whole different ball of wax. But I mean, when you're going from rank 25, 23, 24, it's everybody in that neighborhood's really new. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe they see something that I don't, but I didn't think it was that bad coming in with a new account personally.
Well, I have a little bit of a different perspective on that because my girlfriend got interested in Hearthstone whenever I started like getting serious about it.
Right
and,
on.
She had never played a card game before or anything, so I was like, "Here, let me help you out and stuff." We went through the tutorial and everything, started building up her collection, and we figured out like what kind of deck she liked to play, and turned out she liked playing just like handlock, like really grindy warlock decks. So I just made her like classic old school handlock, which should be fine against like most things, but like not even just on ladder, but just like in play mode. Like once you get a certain amount of experience, like you just play against like players with insane collections. Like, and then she would just end up playing like against aggro shaman like every game, even in like casual. So I could tell it was like getting frustrating for her, even though she really likes the game. So stuff like that can really hinder the new player experience. Even though like the tutorial and intro to the game initially is really good. So
yeah, I remember playing the tutorial my first time. I never had any issues with understanding the basics of hero power and spells versus monsters and taunts. Like they run you through the basics, I think, very nicely in the tutorial. But yeah, it's definitely coming into ladder and not being. I think they said for like the first 10 games or so they face you against people who also have just started playing. But they should do something more collection based, I feel. Well, that wouldn't necessarily be fair for people who are like smurfing and know how to play the game, even with less cards in their collection. I don't think that would be as big of a problem.
I think you should be able to do that in casual at the very least, because like she has like maybe I don't know if she has like 100 wins with Warlock yet, because she like plays in bursts like every couple months or something, and she just logs on. She's like, ooh, new set, get new cards and stuff, and she goes into casual, and then she plays against like some dude with like golden mage or something.
Yeah,
he's just wrecking her with like all gold freeze mage, and like that's not really fair. Like this dude has so much experience. She has like maybe 200 games in ranked or something with the deck.
I will say though that one Smurfy experience I had, Right? No, it wasn't super. I was trying to get to rank 20 on my wife's account so she can get a card back, but I was at rank 23, and I got absolutely dunked on by Merps from the Grinning Goat.
Oh, it
Like
worked on
what?
Merps.
Like what in the world are you doing at rank 23? And then I realized like he's an arena player, so he at the end of the month he just hurries up and gets his card back for the end of the month and then goes back to arena. But yeah, like that happens sometimes, I guess, you know.
Yeah, so I guess on the blue post, he was kind of wanting to talk a little bit about how the introductory missions or the AI, it feels good. You start to learn, and then it kind of just goes off into a cliff, into the abyss of the ladder. So they're looking into other ways of how to kind of match them with maybe similar card pools where they don't have a large card pool. And they'll be playing up against another person who doesn't have large pools. So you're not playing against Merps. Like you're playing against another person that plays in small bursts from month to month, you know?
Maybe like if you don't have, like, say, League of Explorers and somebody else queuing in has League of Explorers, maybe you don't make them, like, able to match up.
Yeah.
Maybe you
It would make queue times longer for sure, but...
Yeah. But I think it would be overall, like, more enjoyable for that person.
Mm-hmm.
So I think going with, like, expansions you've purchased would be a good, like, place to start with that.
Yeah, the just to go back to the one of the other blue posts he had as far as classic cards move into wild, I don't, I'm at first I'm like, oh, the classics are classic. I mean, why do you got to mess with them? But then again, it makes it feel more fresh. Like I know where he's going with it, where they want to make it feel fresh, but then they have to ride the line where they're trying to make it accessible to those players who come back after months of not playing.
Some cards are just not okay, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that today.
Yeah. So that's just a little hint of what we're going to talk about later. And then the other one was like the classic formats and all of that. I don't know if you guys saw that one, but he was basically answering questions in blue posts. You guys want to talk about that? No? We can move on. We have a full show.
Yeah, the only one that I actually saw was the moving classic cards to wild. I think that's the one that everybody sort of caught all their interest and Reddit sort of freaked out. And then the others were sort of brushed over a little bit. I saw the free-to-play legend one actually as well, the new player experience. But when they said classic cards moving to wild, everybody just sort of froze, and that's all they focused on.
Gotcha. Well,
as they are wont to do.
Yeah.
All right, and the next thing here, the next item on the list, Ben and Dean Ayala.
Yes. Yeah, it's Ixar.
Ixar.
Did I misspell his name?
I think so.
It's Ixar. That's all I need to know.
Yeah, it's Ixar.
Ixar. So they're going to be hosting a developer Q&A, and I actually linked in the Twitch chat because it's going to be on Twitch. It's going to be live on January 13th at 9 a.m. PST. So go check it out. That may be coming out the day you may be hearing this. So hopefully you made it.
Yep.
And so next thing, HCT Winter Championships will be held in Nassau, Bahamas. You guys feel like going on a cruise?
I would love to.
It's a nice place to have it in the winter.
Man.
Cora, are you not casting this?
I have no information about HCT this year. I believe I'm going to be casting more along the lines of TESPA instead of HCT, so I don't know. I wouldn't hold your breath. I'm not holding my breath for the Bahamas this time.
Oh man, yeah, so, I figured they'd let you know by now.
Yeah, unfortunately, they didn't have it in the Bahamas last year, but that's okay.
No.
Gotta get the computer nerds a little bit of sun once in a while. Have them play Hearthstone on the beach.
Some of that and that vitamin whatever that
I'm
you
a
get for being
ghost.
in the
I could
sun.
use the sun,
Vitamin D.
Blizzard. Save me from this basement, please.
Away from the spiders.
Yes. So
Yeah, they could have held it in like Saskatoon in our natural habitat, but no, we're gonna hold it in the Bahamas. We're all gonna burn to death.
Oh man.
So that'll be fun. Hopefully, we get lots of good pictures from the individual players that'll be going. That'll be fun.
It'll be beautiful. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
All right, and I'm gonna kick it over to Cinder here with some of the professional moves. You want to cover some of those? The bullet points.
There's been a few because I think beginning of the year and everybody's getting their budgets sorted out, so a bunch of teams made some signings. The Alliance picked up Powder, who was just recently released from SK Gaming. So the Alliance is going like full Swede with Orange and Osaka, and now Powder making up that team. Gosu Crew signs Green Sheep. Green Sheep's kind of been floating in the wind for a while since Dignitas dissolved their team, and I know he's been trying really hard to get onto a squad. So really nice to see him finally get a contract. Counterlogic Gaming. Now, this is a fairly large esports outfit that has not yet entered the Hearthstone arena, but now they have. They picked up Zixo, Hoy, and Surrender from the previous Navi squad. Of course, Osaka had already signed with the Alliance, so Counterlogic has picked up the remainder of that squad. So that's already coming out of the gate an extremely strong team. And then now this is a very interesting piece. We talked about Misfits last week, signing Stancifka, Pokrovac, and George C. to form their Hearthstone squad. Well, the Miami Heat of the NBA have invested in that team, which is probably where the money came from to sign those three, among other players. So we saw a little bit of it last year. We've seen a bunch of it in Europe, like with Valencia FC having their own Hearthstone squad. And now the NBA's got its second team with an investment in Hearthstone. So this is really cool stuff. This is kind of like an omen of esports starting to hit the mainstream, because if the investors smell the money, they're going to invest in it.
Had you heard about the Greek soccer club that was looking at picking up a team potentially as well? I think it's Panathinaikos.
I did not.
Yeah, they were potentially looking at picking up a Greek Hearthstone team. So nothing's been confirmed yet, but that's pretty cool. There's a lot of good Greek players.
Yeah, the Greek community is very tight knit, and they play a lot, and that would be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Lots of things have been happening. I'm excited to see more and more professional teams or companies picking up esports. So it seems like it's a new bug that everyone's starting to invest in. So we'll see how it works out. Appa, I'm going to kick it over to you for the next part here. So ESL Trinity Series had their teams fully announced. Do you want to cover some of those?
Yeah. So all the rosters been announced, and first up we have Tempo Storm, and that's a roster of VLPS, Just Saiyan, and Gara. Complexity is Super JJ, Mystery Goot, and Crane. Virtus Pro is Dr. Hippie, Nyman, and Bunny Hopper. Luminosity is Chalky, Frozen, and Zalay. G2 is Ties, Life Coach, and RDU. Cloud9 is Firebat, Strifecrow, and Tides of Time, who I thought had fallen off the earth. Alliance is Orange, Osaka, and Powder, and Liquid is Dog, Xiao, and Nyria. I'm actually excited to see Tides of Time competing again. I haven't seen him play anything in a long time.
Yeah, he was off the circuit for quite a while, but he did actually make a comeback not long ago. So clearly he's still on C9. It's going to be interesting to see how he does.
So it's very apparent that Tugboat in Twitch chat is going for Alliance GG, specifically Powder. But,
oh yeah.
Well, I mean, Powder and Orange are practice partners, so that could be a really interesting.
Surprise, yeah.
That could be a tight knit team.
All right, so now that we're talking about teams and stuff for that, shall we go ahead and talk about the tournaments this past week?
It's the Grand Tournament! So we had one major tournament this past weekend. That was the Gold Series Winter Championships. That's the first major in China for the 2017 Hearthstone season. And there's a long qualifying circuit that leads up to the championships. It's about 2 months of group stage. Out of that group stage came the championship bracket, which they played this past weekend. It was a double elimination, best of 7 conquest tournament. The quarterfinals brought us Breath versus Nygod. Breath wins that series 4-3, Omega Zero gets another match against Hamster and squeaks one out, 4-3. Lovely Chook tops Shi Chen 4-2, and X Hope beats newcomer LVGE 4-2. Moving on to the semifinal round, Omega Zero gets this was an amazing match. Omega Zero versus Breath. Omega Zero barely squeaks out of the win there at 4-3, and then X Hope and Lovely Chook also have a very tight series, 4-3, and that was a crazy series. X Hope and Lovely Chook both had a number of really crazy steals from the Draconid Operative. I saw like Jiraxis got stolen once or twice. The map to the Golden Monkey got stolen and played once. I mean, there was just all kind of madness in that series. It was really fun to watch. Both of those semis are really great if you want to go back and catch up on that. It was on the Tempo Storm stream, so it should be in their past broadcasts. Down to the lower bracket, the final game there was X Hope versus Lovely Chook. X Hope takes the win 4-3. And that brought us a final of Omega Zero versus X Hope. Omega Zero takes this series 4-2. He got a really fast start, 2-1. X Hope manages to get a game in, but Omega Zero he was in top form this whole tournament, which was really something, because going into BlizzCon, everybody thought that Omega Zero was going to be the sleeper. He was going to be the dark horse. He's easily one of, if not the strongest player in China, top one on the Chinese ladder month after month and winning tournament after tournament. And he got reverse swept by Pavel at BlizzCon. So having Omega Zero come back and have a really strong tournament like this really is a feather in his cap, showing that it wasn't just a fluke from last year. He is the real deal. So he ends up taking the tournament, and his winning match, man, was really something else. He ends up in a Reno Lock versus Miracle Rogue, and he dirty rats X Hope's Auctioneer. He makes the read. X Hope had played a couple of mid-range minions, but still had a fairly full hand, so Omega Zero made the read that was just full of spells and probably an Auctioneer. So he dirty rats on turn 9, gets the Auctioneer, flame strikes the board and clears him out. X Hope has no chance of coming back with a handful of spells. And man, I've been there, and there is nothing you can do. So Omega Zero, once again, making great reads and had a great tournament. Now, remember, the HCT circuit is a little bit different this year than it was last year. Each of the 4 regional seasonal championships sends the top 4 players to the seasonal playoffs. So even though Omega Zero won the tournament, the top 4 players from the tournament, Omega Zero, X Hope, Lovely Chook, and LVGE, the newcomer to the Chinese scene, they are going to represent China in the Bahamas in March for the winter playoffs. And on top of that, NetEase had promised that these 4 players, the top 4 players from Winter Championships, would join Jason Zhou to represent China in the China versus NA tournament that's coming up in a little while. So that's going to be awesome. Those 4 players got 2 tournament seedings for their efforts over the weekend. So really great tournament. Check that out if you want to. It's on the Tempo Storm Twitch channel on their past broadcasts. So big thanks to Tempo Storm for bringing us the stream, and thanks to D2, Derek Brown, Lorinda, Abar, and Hermes for casting all the matches for us in English. We very much appreciate that.
Cool. I didn't get a chance to see it. Did you guys, Appa, were you watching while you were playing in your Asia?
No, I haven't watched any of this, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was on in the odd hours, obviously, because it was in China. So I was watching replays, but yeah, it's good that there are still some people that are dedicated to bringing that stuff in an English language content. So it's still watchable, thankfully.
It makes it more accessible. I think that's
right.
Really cool of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I'm actually in the Skype group with these guys, so it's I'm always seeing when they're getting ready to cast matches. Unfortunately, it is really awful with my schedule, especially now that I'm streaming a lot. So it's the odd hours make it tough, but these guys they pull through. They're awesome. So yeah, and I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I'm certainly not surprised to see names like Omega Zero, X Hope, and Lovely Chook, as well as Jason Zhou for China versus NA. It's the big names for China, so it really doesn't come as much of a surprise.
Cool. Anything else that may be upcoming?
Yeah, and not just upcoming, but literally right now, the World Esports Games, it's got almost kind of like the Olympics of esports. Like there's something like $300,000 in prize money across all the tournaments. Like, there's a lot of money in this event. But their main event for Hearthstone, they've already done the qualifiers. So this is the main event group stage. That's starting literally right now. So if you want to check out that, go check it out after we're done here. It's going to be on the Star Ladder Hearthstone English Twitch stream. We got a link in the show notes for you if you don't know how to find it. Check it out. It's going to be group stages all the way through Friday, and then the final bracket's going to be played Saturday and Sunday. And there were no invitationals for this, that to my knowledge. It's all people who made it through the bracket. So there's a mix of names you'll recognize and a whole bunch of names you don't. So we might see some new rising stars this weekend. It should be great.
Sweet. All right, so let's go ahead and go into some of our reviews here. So, actually, I'm gonna have Appa cover the iTunes. We had a review, and actually, I think the person has been more active recently here in our Discord.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if he just recently joined. I guess I wasn't
He joined
aware.
a few weeks ago. He's been chatty.
Yeah, I've seen him more. So, cool. Sorry, Appa.
So this week we only have one review, and it's an iTunes review from Apex Predator. And he says, "Great podcast. They told me to write this review. It gives good insight into the competitive nature of the game, and it's a weekly listen for me."
Turns out forcing them to write reviews
Short
works.
and sweet. Yeah, no, let's just say we didn't tell them what to say. We just implored our listeners to write a review.
Encourage them.
Yes. Next step is to start either talking about your family or taking their phones or something. Like you can go and write a review. No, I'm not going to go that far. But thank you so much for the review. It does help. It's really cool of you. All right, so I'm going to cover a little bit of our call-in segment, and we'll see if we have time for the email at the end. It's basically just a story, but so basically we're going to go into the segment just like last time. You're going to go into our Discord channel. It's discord.coinconcede.com. You can join the screening lobby as far as the audio portion, but just join our chat in the Hearthstone Hangout. And if you want to, say what you're going to talk about or ask questions, I can basically pull you in order from there. So kind of keep it PG, no cussing, no abusive language. If your audio's bad, we may kick you out, but we still love you. So does that pretty much cover everything, Cinder? We should be good, right?
Yeah, we should be good.
Kind of tag teaming this. Yeah. And let me kick it over to Cora to kind of explain what we're going to talk about right now.
All right, so we had mentioned earlier in the show about Ben Brode's comments about classic cards possibly getting a second look, and there being a lot of speculation about classic nerfs like they've done in the past, or perhaps even some classic cards rotating into wild, such as the non-collectibles like Old Murkai and Elite Torn Chieftain did. So we've looked at some of the data from the various data snapshots, as well as the strongest and most frequently played cards of the classic and basic sets. We're going to quickly cover what these are, and then we are going to open up the show to calls from you guys in the Discord and get your thoughts on these. So we're just going to quickly go class by class and give you the most powerful, most commonly played classic cards. So Appa, why don't you actually go ahead and elaborate a little bit on this?
Okay. I drew up a list of cards initially that I thought were too strong for either their mana cost or they don't keep things fresh as new formats come in and sets rotate. And then I cross-referenced that with the latest available data I could find, which was Vicious Syndicate's data that they put out at the beginning of Whispers when that got released. So I kind of took both, cross-referenced them, and came up with this list that's in the show notes right now. And I'm going to go class by class, and this is just cards that the most played or most powerful cards of each class in Classic and Basic. So for Druid, there's Innervate, Wrath, and Swipe. Hunter is Animal Companion, Eaglehorn Bow, and Kill Command. Mage is Frostbolt, Fireball, Arcane Intellect, and Mana Worm. Paladin has True Silver Champion, Consecration, and Eldar Peacekeeper. Priest is Power Word Shield, Northshire Cleric, and Shadow Word Pain and Shadow Word Death. Rogue has Backstab, SI7 Agent, and Eviscerate. Shaman is Feral Spirit, Flame Tongue Totem, Lightning Bolt, and Lightning Storm. Warlock is Voidwalker, Flame Imp, Direwolf, and Defender of Argus. Warrior is Fiery War Axe, Frothing Berserker, and Kor'kon Elite. And neutral, they didn't have any data on this, so this is just my personal opinion. It's cards I've been seeing a ton of from like the past year and a half of competing, and it's just Doomsayer, Acolyte of Pain, Azure Drake, and Gadgetzed Auctioneer. And I also want to note that I came into this list without looking at legendaries at all, because I don't think they're going to change any legendaries in Classic or Basic. I don't think any are too strong to justify that, honestly. Like, the two that may possibly be too strong are Sylvanas and Tyrion, but I don't think they dampen the spirit of new formats, honestly. But that's just my opinion, so that's why we have a discussion.
Yep. One of the ones that was in that data set from Vicious Syndicate was Abusive Sergeant, and that went from 2 attack to 1 attack, and guess what? That guy just about fell off the map.
Yeah, whenever I was looking at the Vicious Syndicate data, it had like Abusive Sergeant, Ardent Squire, Knife Juggler, and some other cards, like Tuskar Totemic was up there too, and so was Rockbiter Weapon. But all these cards got nerfed, so
yeah,
we haven't really been seeing them be a problem lately.
So at least that's a good indicator that even those little minor adjustments had the desired effect that they wanted to have. So the question now is which one of these, if any of these, are going to get changed or rotated. Cora, on this list, what do you think? Are there any real standout cards you think are due for a little rotation?
There's definitely several. I think the one that most people will mention is Azure Drake, just because it can fit in pretty much every deck. And spell damage plus cycle with a 4/4 body for 5 mana just seems, and has always seemed, very strong, especially with the dragon tag. It's kind of got almost too much going for it. It's not overpowered, but it's one of the best cards in the game.
It's just so much more efficient than other cards at its mana cost.
Exactly.
You just jam it in almost every deck.
And you're fine.
There's some exceptions, but you're usually happy about it.
Yeah.
So in other words, you're saying that they're gonna neuter the Drake and just won't be a Drake anymore?
I don't think that you need to neuter. Like, okay, so the Drake is known for spell damage, and you play it because it can cycle.
I know.
But so maybe the 4/4 body is just too much.
Just put it in wild. That's fine.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd be sad to see the Drake go. It's a good staple. I like having staple cards that are good cards that you can always rely on having. But this one might be a little bit, I don't know. It needs a little bit of tweaking. I don't want to see it nerfed into oblivion. I think it can still be really good. Just maybe a little bit of balancing. The other one that stands out to me is Frothing Berserker. I've always said that Frothing Berserker should be 3 mana, 2/4, gain +1 attack every time one of your minions is damaged. I think it's kind of ludicrous that it gains attack when your opponent's minions are damaged as well. And I think if they just did that, then it would be fine.
It's 4 health on turn 3, which can be difficult for a lot of decks to handle.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be interested to see if they do anything with the Fiery War Axe, because we've seen quite a lot of analysis on the Fiery War Axe, and that is an extremely strong card for its mana cost. So, if it wasn't an armor the armor up hero power to back it up, maybe it would be fine. But I think it's probably on the radar if I had to guess. That and maybe Innervate, I don't know, Innervate is so key to Druid, but it's so strong.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
I'd be interested. I'd be surprised if they didn't do something about Innervate.
I don't know that you could get rid of Innervate without hurting Druid so much as a class, as a whole. And Fiery War Axe as well. You've got Fiery War Axe, and yes, it's one of the strongest cards in the warrior class. But then you look at Spirit Claws, and you're like, can we really nerf Fiery War Axe if we're allowing Spirit Claws to stay in the game?
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so tough evaluating classic set and evaluating, evergreen cards that we're never going to leave.
Yeah.
Because never thought we'd
Well,
have this problem.
do you think they're going to be able to replace them with good cards that would seem staple like?
They would have to keep replacing them every 2 years.
I think that would be a good deal.
Because we would always have to have something that was
some
as
class
good.
defining card,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine was trying to build, a little bit of everything, and she's like, okay, what do I need to build a rogue deck? And the first thing I said was, do you have preparation? No, you cannot build a rogue deck. Like, it is as good as that card is. It really is that critical to the class identity. Like, it's very hard to build a rogue deck without it. So, as strong as it is, like, I could see that there are some cards that they just may not be able to touch because of stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff to say. Time like these that I'm glad I'm not on the development team. I wouldn't know where to start.
All right. So, did we kind of each have our say with what do we want to do here?
Yeah,
with the cards.
Let's talk to some people.
Okay. I do have one person that's wanting to talk about kind of what we mentioned a little bit here with the class defining cards. I guess when we were talking about that, he has a question here. So I'm gonna come on down, Tugboat. Tugboat, go ahead and join us.
Make sure to tag him in chat.
I am. Yeah.
Okay.
He should be there in just a second.
And while Tugboat's getting into the channel, he is a avid listener of Coin Concede. He's donated to us. He watches my stream. He's incredibly supportive. Really great guy. So it'll be nice to finally get to hear his thoughts on the game. So yeah, Tugboat.
Hello?
Hey,
Hello.
can you hear us?
Hey.
Yeah, I can hear you guys just fine.
Hey, Tugboat.
Perfect.
How you doing?
Hey, thank you so much for helping support us and just being there for us in the long run. Not only from last week, but coming on the show to join us this week too.
Oh, no problem. This is my one day off a week. I enjoyed listening to stuff like this and just interacting with people. It's fun.
Oh, nice. So yeah, you had a question about druids, or maybe you had some more, but specifically druid. You want to go ahead and ask that?
Well, it's like you guys were talking about the staples for the druid that's used in classic and for the standard. You have innervate, wrath, and swipe. Well, how do you can't really take away wrath or swipe, and innervate, like Cora already said, you kind of neuter it with taking that away. Because what removal does druid really have if you take away wrath or swipe? Either AoE or a single target other than mulch. And then you're left with things that aren't very mana efficient for everything, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the druid class is especially hard to sort of move cards around because it is so dependent upon its ramp identity. And, innervate is the basis of that ramp, and to take it away would just sort of it would hurt druid to the point that I don't know that they could fix it without having to rebrand it entirely, and I don't think that's what they want to do, so I don't know.
Well, they have other cards that they've been introducing that have ramp like tendencies, you know what I mean? So do you feel like if they get rid of one, they're gonna completely lose their identity that way? I
mean,
don't think so, but
they've got Wild Growth, they've got Jade Blossom, so they're and Nourish, obviously, so they're really efficient at ramping mana, but the early game is inherently weak for Druid because they do have to ramp early, so they're not able to get bodies on board usually, other than like Living Roots on turn 1 if you want to do it. It's just the way that the Druid decks are built right now. Certainly you can move to a more token-oriented deck or Beast Druid, which they've been pushing for the last year or so. And maybe if you remove Innervate from that, then it might not be as bad. But with Ramp Druid and Combo Druid, Innervate is so key into giving Druids something to do in the early game before it gets to like turn 7.
Yeah, I'll tell you, even from back in the trading card game days, like that was one of Druid's identity archetypes was ramp. Like you'd play a bunch of Cenarian Druid dudes, and they'd make your ancients really cheap, and you'd play big dudes way ahead of curve. So it's like I know they were carrying that over from that era. So it would be weird to see Innervate go away. But that, yeah, I mean, they have introduced stuff like Grove Tender and Darnassus Aspirant. So I mean, I think they could probably still do it without having to rely solely on Innervate. But I do agree about the removal. I think the removal can probably stick.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What about you, Appa?
All right, I have a lot to say on this topic.
Here we go. He's been
I've just
holding
been
it in. That's
waiting
why he didn't
and
say
letting
anything.
everybody else go. All right, so I just want to point out that with the list, not everything on here is up to be moved to wild or changed or something. This is just a list of either the most played cards of the class or things that we think are too strong. So I don't think Wrath or Swipe is too strong. I don't think anybody else here does, honestly. Mainly the big card is Innervate that I had on the list initially. So Innervate is a card that, in my opinion, is completely degenerate and lets Druid do things that you should never be able to do in this game. There's a difference between ramping in terms of getting ahead a turn of your opponent in mana and completely cheating the mana curve, like just completely cheating the mana curve. So there's a card in Magic called Black Lotus, and
Oh boy.
Magic is it's way less tempo based than Hearthstone, and it is 3 mana, or it's 0 mana. It basically does what Innervate does, but it gives you an extra mana for that one turn, and it is banned in every single format except the one format where you can play any card in Magic, and in that format you can only play 1 copy because it's so disgustingly powerful. And we've been able to play the maximum copies of essentially Black Lotus since Hearthstone's release. And I think that's absolutely unacceptable, and you should never be able to cheat the mana curve in this game, because it's so tempo-based that if you get ahead on board, if you get ahead on board that early, like, have you ever had a Fel Reaver innervated out against you? You don't win those games unless you had specifically BGH in that format.
Mm-hmm.
You just lost, because your opponent's like 4 turns ahead on turn 1.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just disgusting. You can change Innervate to where it doesn't jump you ahead in mana, but refills the mana crystals. Say, if you changed it to 0 mana, refresh 2 mana crystals. You can't play it on turn 1, play a 3-drop or a 4-drop with coin or something like that, but it does help you a little bit later on in the game. Didn't Innervate do something like that in World of Warcraft? I didn't play much WoW, but I think it does something like refresh allies' mana or something.
I can call over the WoW head over here.
It
Hey,
gave
WoW
more,
head over on the other side of the room. What did Innervate do in World of Warcraft?
It gave more mana to the player.
Is a mana refresh.
Yeah.
There you
You're
go.
sticking with a theme. You
I
nerf the
agree
card,
with him
but
on
don't make
that.
it unplayable.
There you go.
So-
Well, so let me add on top of that. So you feel the same way with coin for Rogue?
Coin's a little different because
Like coin, Edwin versus Innervate, Fel Reaver.
the difference between 1 and 2 mana is enormous. So
Okay.
I think
And 2 mana to 3 mana.
Tarnished Coin is kind of pushing it with Gadgets and Auctioneer, but we can get to that a little later too.
So yeah, Tugboat, you were about to jump in there.
Sorry, I was agreeing with Appa on the Innervate. If they changed it to refresh 2 mana, I can understand that, because you can still do all the crazy things that you do later on in the game with like a Gadgets and Auctioneer or something like that, where you're refreshing your mana crystals and drawing and keep doing that. And he's right with the second he brought up Black Lotus, everything made complete sense.
Yeah, so it also doesn't nerf your early game that much versus like the aggressive decks. So say you're Druid right now and you're playing as, say, Pirate Warrior, and your hand is Wild Growth, Wrath, Innervate, and you're on turn 2. You're going to want to go Wild Growth, Innervate, Wrath, kill their however big the stupid 2/3 pirate got. And you can do that with neutered Innervate also. It just doesn't cheat you ahead of other decks at that point. So I think that's a perfectly acceptable change to the card without removing it from wild, and you keep a class staple. I think it hits like all the marks you need to hit with changing a card like that. So it's my 2 cents. I guess more than 2, but
You know what? I think Appa is just biased because that still leaves the door open for like Living Roots, Innervate, Power of the Wild, which is how he steamrolled me at the Summer Tavern.
it
Hero.
wasn't fair, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Yep.
Kenny,
Kenny,
you're
I
muted.
think you're muted.
Oh, you didn't get to hear my lovely laugh. So, Tugboat, was there anything else you wanted to mention? Anything else before we pull someone else in?
Not really. I just wanted to talk about Druid, and Appa pretty much addressed it perfectly. So,
Perfect.
Sounds good.
Sounds like Appa.
all right, guys, I'll talk to you later.
All right, thank you so
Tugboat.
much, Tugboat.
See ya.
All right, have a good one. All right, so next person I'm gonna bring in here. I actually just mentioned it in chat here, and I'm getting rid of. I don't know if you're in there, or
Yeah, I can kind of hit the rolls a little bit, but yeah, go ahead and bring our next caller in.
oh, the boots had access here. Whoops.
Whoops.
Whoopsie. All right. Where is he?
He said
I'm looking
he
You gotta
tried.
give him the roll.
I know. I'm looking for his name. Why is it not here?
Oh,
Zuijyn.
I'll get him.
Oh, there we go. I got him. There we go.
Okay.
All right. Come on down. Zoyan? Zoyan?
We can
How would
ask
you
him,
pronounce it?
fortunately.
Here I am.
Hello.
Hey.
How do you pronounce your name?
Am I echoing? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Cinder's gonna.
I want to make sure
Mess
I wasn't
around with-
having an echo or anything.
Yeah, no, you sound great. Go ahead. Go for it.
There you go.
Oh.
Yeah.
Most excellent. So, looking over at what Ben and Team 5 had put out, rotating some of the classic cards, they kept referring to, or the most common reference to decks using a high number of classic cards and basic cards was Pirate Warrior, but I didn't see a whole lot of, or really any of those particular cards being referenced. It was commonly the Azure Drake or the Gadgetzan Auctioneer. I know Appa did refer to the Fiery War Axe, but I'm not completely opposed to removing those cards, but most of the other decks that have been at the top, I would say tier 1, tier 2 in the past few seasons, I don't believe have been very reliant on just the classic basic cards. I believe the Highlander and Reno decks and Shaman for the last mini seasons has been very dependent upon the expansions and releases.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Shaman, because it was so weak, going off of the base class, other than like, Doomhammer, Rockbiter, Lightning Bolt. Obviously they have really efficient spells, but their minion base was rather weak. Has gotten a lot stronger over time, whereas classes like Warrior have always been consistently strong. So yeah, certainly Warrior could get hit harder than Shaman, but Shaman's going to get hit with the next rotation anyway. But yeah, I definitely see where you're going with that.
Well, I'll tell you one class that relies very heavily still on classic basic is Rogue. The only thing that they've really added to the current Miracle Rogue build is the Pirate package. And I mean, even that, not many players, but some players even argue that it's not necessary. You can still rely on the old removal tools to get by on the early game. So it's, I mean, there are some archetypes that still rely on classic and basic. But I'm surprised that they said that Pirate Warrior does, because there's some, obviously there's the War Axe, and some of the pirates are, but really what made that archetype explode was the South Sea Deckhand. So I don't know. I'll be interested to hear what they have to say on Friday about that.
Yeah, and Miracle Rogue, unfortunately, is the only truly viable deck option for Rogue, I feel. I mean, you can do some Death Rattle fun, and now you can do some Jade Golem fun, but it's just simply not as consistent at getting the finishing touches. So it seems like while they've added other aspects to it so that you can try other archetypes for Rogue, they're simply not viable to compete in the current meta.
Yeah. I don't have too much to add here. Do you want to add anything, Appa? We'll give you the final run.
Yeah, for Warrior, in the show notes, whenever we post them, I have War Axe, Frothing, and Korkron listed, and all three of those are some of the strongest cards in Pirate Warrior, just like alone. So the pirates that got released obviously make the early game really, really strong and hard to deal with, but Frothing and Korkron are some of the finisher cards that have been in aggro and tempo warrior decks for the past year, pretty much. And just because they're so efficient in what they do, and they're better than the other cards in that mana slot, basically. As for Miracle Rogue, okay, so Rogue is a class that Blizzard really needs to reevaluate its identity, because they have no idea what they're doing with this class at all, honestly. They're trying to make it a really cool weapon class, or they tried pushing Burgle. Jade was kind of a spread across three classes, so that's a little bit different. But they honestly rely on Miracle Rogue always existing whenever they're designing new cards. It's... How do I put this? So, Gadgetzan is too good because it lets Rogue always be a good deck, if that kind of makes sense. So, as long as Gadgetzan's around, they don't really have to worry about printing bad Rogue cards, because Auctioneer's always just going to give Rogue a leg to stand on. And if you've ever played against Miracle Rogue and they've got an uncontested Auctioneer and you're not threatening lethal the next turn, you're losing that game. Almost 100% of the time. They're just gonna draw their deck and you're gonna die. And that is also an issue with Auctioneer and its design, but they can't really change it because it's so iconic. Personally, I think they should change Auctioneer to be a legendary, as it would make Rogue it would make Rogue a lot less consistent. Auctioneer is vastly superior to almost every other legendary in the game in terms of what it does on its sheer power level, and it would also force Blizzard to reevaluate Rogue's class design. So now that I'm done ranting, do you guys have anything to add?
I'll only add one more thing to that. When I was playing Legend of the Five Rings, I had a thing for what was it called? Man, it's been so long I can't even remember now. Enlightenment. Enlightenment decks were an alternate win condition. You basically had to play 5 individual cards out of your 40-card deck, and they each had a different win condition, and they were vastly different. And the only way you could do that is to put all 5 of those conditions in your deck and then be able to draw through your entire deck as fast as possible. And most of the time that was impossible, right? So if the deck that I played did that, and it felt like Auctioneer, where every turn I'm drawing 8-10 cards out of 40, and you hit those notes and you just win. So yeah, like, card draw is so unbelievably good in any card game, especially in Hearthstone, which has 30 cards. So I definitely agree. The Auctioneer probably needs a second look. I mean, I would consider changing it entirely. Like, just the draw engine itself is just almost unrealistic.
Yeah, and that would force them to very quickly boost Rogue as a class, and like Appa was saying, give it some other form of an identity. Because, I mean, you've got most other classes have that special thing about them that makes them, unique. And now it should be honestly that Rogue is the class with the best weapons. Like its hero power is a weapon. That should be what it is. But they've gone in the direction of copy cards from your opponent's class. But that's, I don't know. It's not working out the way that they want it to.
I think they need to revisit Blade Flurry also. I think we all realized that design decision was a complete disaster. It could absolutely be 2 mana and just not deal damage to your opponent.
Yes.
It would shore up a bunch of its matchups. It would bring back Deadly Poison, which is part of Rogue's class design, is upgrading your weapon with toxins and stuff. So I think Blade Flurry is honestly an enormous problem.
If you bring back Blade Flurry, you can start building a more board-centric rogue class instead of something that runs 6 minions. You could start playing something
like Control Rogue.
Yeah, that they've been trying to do forever with Anubarak, with Trade Prince Gallywix. Cards that were, in their own right, really freaking cool cards. Like, good cards that would have been great in Control Warrior, for instance.
All this stuff is opened up if you change Auctioneer, because you can't have, like, a 2-mana Wrath your board, draw a card. Like, that's too good. So, like, you need to... Auctioneer's such a problem card for Rogue. It's just putting up... It's just a giant roadblock for card design, honestly.
I mean, like,
and it needs to be revisited.
Can you put a maximum on how many cards it can draw? Or is that just...
I honestly think being a legendary would be okay, because that's what a legendary does. You play it, and it, like, swings a game in your favor, like, does something really, really strong or disgusting. So I think being a legendary would be fine. It would obviously be really strong, and it would make you less reliant on the cards. So Miracle decks would have a rougher time, or not exist at all. But that's what a legendary should do, and it's a rare, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a rare. Like, what? It's so absurd.
Like, the difference between rare and epic is pretty much nothing, but the difference between rare and legendary is huge.
Yeah.
True. BUFM in our chat is actually mentioning combo for Rogue. So, I mean, that's kind of their special thing, but do you feel like that's just not up to snuff, or...?
Cards that
like, that's not enough to build an archetype around. Like, it's fine for the class identity, but, like, they tried to use Shadow as an archetype, build around, it doesn't work. They tried to do Burgle as an archetype, build around, doesn't work.
Yeah, so, I feel like that was pretty close to, like, their priest spells to take cards from your deck or your hand, and like that was already there, that they kind of just added to Rogue.
Everything that Rogue tried to do, Draconid Operative does better.
Oh man,
period.
That card's getting nerfed. I can't imagine it doesn't.
So combo is it's a really good design for Rogue, because well, I mean, it's just a really cool design, and it's a cool thing for the class to have, but you can't make a combo centric deck because it's inherently card disadvantaged. Like, you're getting an effect for playing a couple things in a turn. You usually need to play prep or coin or tarnish coin to do that, or like cheap spells that have a small effect, and you're just 2-for-1ing yourself basically for an effect on a card. So you can't really build a deck around that, because you're going to go down cards every time you do that. Combo cards need to be solid on their own to slot into decks of a specific archetype. Like this new card that they printed, the 2-mana 2/3 combo. It's worse than Brewmaster, but it's still a really cool idea to, like, try and spark a rogue deck where you bounce all your stuff. But you can't really just shove all the combo cards into a rogue deck and call it a combo deck, because one, they compete with each other, like, on turns. You want to play a different card without combo and then a combo card, and then it's also card disadvantage activating those. So,
well, thank you for asking that question or bringing up Rogue, because I know we were gonna actually talk a little bit more, but I know Appa wanted to mention it. So thanks for calling in for that. We appreciate it. Did you have any other questions?
Yeah, one more was, do you guys think, since we're coming into year 2 of Standard here, and talking about nerfs again to classic cards. This is just going to be the standard for year after year. Whenever we get to end of the Kraken here, and then we'll come to end of year of the Unicorn or whatever it's going to be. It'll just be part of the new year style, where we're just going to have old cards nerfed time in, time out each time.
So if they're doing their job correctly, no. If they're doing their job poorly, yes. And what I mean by that is, if we just reevaluate these cards and we find a happy medium for the busted cards, or rotate some of the busted cards to wild, then we shouldn't need to revisit them every year, because they should be strong, but they shouldn't go in every single deck and start making the meta very stale. Which is why Fiery War Axe is on here, because it's a problem card, because when have you played against a warrior deck that has not had Fiery War Axe in it?
Yeah.
So I think they really need to take this seriously, because you don't want to keep changing cards every at the end of every standard year, because it gets aggravating for the players, and it also takes away the player base's faith in the designers. So hopefully they're doing their jobs very well, and they're working very hard with this and reevaluating all these very strong cards so they don't have to do this again.